Could see some strong storms too. Before we get to that, let's take the traffic situation here full screen. Interstate 74, everything moving along, not seeing any delays so far. Watching though a couple of things for the threat for strong to severe weather today. One, this warm front sitting off to the south. Where it ends up just before the noon hour is going to be player number one, if you will, in threat for strong to severe storms. Number two, this cluster of storms here in southwest Iowa. This is the cluster that could strengthen and get here in the Quad Cities right about 10 o'clock or so, and then cross over to our Illinois hometowns right around the 11 o'clock hour. So a couple things at play. Still a very what we call conditional threat, but we're keeping a close eye on it. We certainly have some of the ingredients in play right now. Dew point in the 60s, temperature also in the 60s at this hour. Winds out of the east and quite a big temperature difference between the region. Low 50s northeast Illinois. Upper 70s, southwest Iowa. Can you tell there's a warm front in the region? Absolutely. Laying again just south of the Burlington region. So where that front ends up this afternoon will be key for severe storms. I've got those in the forecast beginning just before the noon hour and extending until about 1 or 2 o'clock. And look at that big jump in temperatures as we go from 70s this morning, even into the low 90s just after the noon hour as that warm front blasts itself through. Now, let's get the next update from the Storm Prediction Center coming up right around 8 o'clock. So I'm thinking between 8 and 8:30 we'll do a Facebook Live and we'll chat more about these storms coming up this morning. But still expecting the majority of the activity and the risk to be on the Illinois side of the river, especially north of I-80. Now, an update to what I showed you yesterday on my Facebook page, and that's the hash mark area here. This is where the Storm Prediction Center is predicting winds possibly exceeding 80 miles an hour. Could even be a derecho situation here. But notice, thankfully, that's moved to the north of us. Yesterday, this was right on top of many of our Illinois hometowns. New data this morning suggesting that threat is shifting a little bit further to the north. But we're still in the likely category in that we could see wind gusts of 60 to 70 miles an hour with a couple of these storms later this morning. Also can't rule out an isolated tornado, especially again, long and north of I-80, Illinois side of the river. Another rule of thumb too, these storms like to track around what we call these instability gradients, where you go from no storm energy to a whole lot of it. And as we put Future Track into motion, you'll see that that gradient or that boundary is exactly where that dark red zone is that I showed you for the severe weather risk. It's along and north of I-80, especially around I-88. So there's 11 o'clock. Those are the storms in southwest Iowa right now. They'll move into the Sauk Valley around noon, and we'll keep an eye on the potential that 1 or 2 of those go severe. But it's a quick hitting event because the timing is only from about 11 until 4. Can actually probably move that up to 2 o'clock, and I may do that in the next hour. But again, north of I-80, Illinois side, isolated tornado, risk for some damaging wind as well. So let me get Future Track into motion, show you the really close-up view. There you see again that opportunity along and north of Interstate 80 for a couple of those stronger storms. But once we get past the noon hour, it's gone and out of here. A reminder, a heat advisory remains in place. It goes in effect today at noon all the way until 8 o'clock Wednesday evening. And no wonder, as you take a look at the daily forecast for not only temperature but heat index, yeah, in the hundreds the next 3 days, close to that also for the end of the week. And while we're going to get a break from the humidity Thursday and Friday, it'll come back next week, and another opportunity we could hit the century mark again by next Tuesday.